Okay, well, we'll make a start, and just want to say hello again to everyone. And perhaps there's new people here that weren't here last week. Anyone not? Okay. Well, my name's Kathi, and tonight we're going to be looking at some of the features of karma and how that plays out in our daily experience, and also how we can address and hopefully uproot afflicted mind states that are playing out in that karma, and the habitual tendencies that we have, and look at where they come from, why did they arise, and also do some there's so many different ways of addressing and purifying those mind states, so we'll also meditate on some of that. And so first of all, we'll just start with a settling meditation. And so for that, I'm just going to recap what we went into last week with the nature of mind. And that's what we're going to meditate on as a way of centering. So often we have a focal object being the breath, but equally you can use just about anything. But also the mind, the nature of mind, has a lot of advantages to familiarise ourselves with, and partly because the more we tune into that deeper level of our mind below the conceptual level, the more we tune into basically the source of happiness that is available to us. Can everyone hear okay like that? Yep. And but yeah, the mind, meditating on the mind can seem really elusive at first, and it can take a while before you feel like, oh, this is what it means to meditate on the mind. Like, because awareness is so spacey, it's like awareness being the mind. So yeah, recap the nature of mind is that it's defined as clear and knowing, or clarity and awareness, or kind of more explanatory way is the allowing for experience to arise and the experiencing of it. So it's that space that where our thoughts come from, and it's not something that we in the West particularly tend to spend much time thinking about, because we're just kind of on a conceptual level so much. But it is really worthwhile. So we'll try that today. So just to feel perfectly comfortable and relaxed, whether you're sitting on a chair or not, just to relax your shoulders, but keep your back straight. If your spine is upright, it allows the psychic energy to flow more freely. So that's going to help centering the mind. So just center your attention inward. And just take a few breaths, say 5 breaths, just to help the mind relax and let go of other stuff. So also, first, just let go of any tension, whether it be physical or emotional. Just go through the body and relax all the muscles. And then also just look for any issues that might be sitting there unaddressed. And for the moment, just let them be there. And if it's in the way, if it's a bit annoying, this issue, just give it your full attention for a minute or so, and bring your awareness into that feeling wherever it is that's feeling blocked, that's blocking your relaxation. When we penetrate feelings with our attention, bringing our awareness into them, especially good if you try and find the center of the feeling. Because it can't actually withstand that penetration, and it will dissolve away. So just allow yourself to be within awareness, just being aware of that more subtle awareness where the thoughts come from. So it's not a thinking process, it's just a being. And this is where it can feel elusive to find that being. What might help you to find it is look at the space that arises in between the thoughts. When one thought leaves before the next one comes. That's just an openness and an awareness, a potential knowing space. So if you notice a thought or you have another distraction, just let it pass by without following it, without engaging it. And return your focus to where that thought came from. So if or when thoughts come into the arena of your awareness, it's just not buying into them that allows you to stay centered. And over time, that awareness becomes very peaceful and calm beneath the conceptual overlay. So we'll leave the meditation there. That familiarising yourself. Can you still hear with the rain background? Is that, yeah? The getting familiar with that is really helpful for the way we tend to obsess about the past and obsess about the future. Like, it allows us to not find the present moment so uninteresting that we can't just be in that ordinariness. Because it's like we're always tend to be looking for something more than what's just here, and so we miss that the peace of that present moment, because actually when we're thinking about the past or anticipating the future, we tend to do that because of concern about the past or future. It's it's not saying that we can't reminisce and think, yeah, wasn't that amazing, or things like that, but it's missing that opportunity to be just centred and undistracted, and that can bring so many benefits that oppose anxiety and needing something. Like, if we're just peaceful in the moment, we don't need to have a drink, we don't need to have a smoke. It's like we don't need any distractions or entertainment. It's a whole world that is available to us that we might overlook. It's out of a kind of, well, it's a mixture. It could be. There was an example that I was that was brought up where, we're often constantly looking at our mobile, or looking at our emails, or checking our messages, stuff like that. Like I even do it in the middle of a meditation, you know, like I just, like at home and that. And I catch myself, like I don't need to look right now, you know, it's this kind of agitated mind that it's kind of like a fear, like it's a comfort zone that we seek those sort of things. And it's an indication that we're dependent on other than ourselves, and that's where meditating can really help bring us that inner source of strength, happiness, security, so that we don't our comfort zone is not like dependent on certain requirements. And like it could manifest as boredom, but it's probably underneath that is this fear, a fear-based thing where subtle, but just looking for some sort of crutch outside of ourselves. So anyway, that's the meditation bit, but what we're going to talk about is karma and how that relates to our mind and our like afflicted mind states, that overtake sometimes. And so karma is defined as a mental urge. So we might have heard that it's like our actions, but it's actually what causes the action. So it's like cause and effect. So you have the karmic cause and the karmic ripening, or the effect or the result. And with that mental urge to do something, whether it's to think, or speak or do something, it's also involves like distinguishing the object that we've got the urge about, and the emotion that goes with that, and the intention behind that. So there's like quite a bit involved, and it's happening all the time. It's just what our mind does. So what happens then is these karmic urges, they leave imprints on our mind, which become predispositions and so on, habitual tendencies. And so anyway, I'll just go into the classical characteristics, the way it's presented in Buddhism, to give you an idea, just some of the aspects, because there's so much in this subject, but we'll just look at a few points. So the first characteristic of karma is that it's fixed, and that means that whatever we experience comes from a particular cause. So it's like our happiness comes from virtue, our unhappiness comes from negative, like destructive actions, mind states. And so so whatever is presenting in our experience is what we've created. So if we have something, any drama going down, or anything that befalls us, or the good things that happen to us, then we know from that it's all about something we created in the past. And so this like flips around a lot of what, society is basically very much based on the perpetrator and the victim and blaming outer circumstances. So in Buddhism, there's, there has to be sort of really defined beyond that. It doesn't take away from the legal system, but it's like we take responsibility for our actions, for what happens to us being our past creation. So it helps a lot with relationships and working with others, to step back and accept that, there's some really embarrassing things that happen when you think of it like that, because if you get yelled at for no reason, you think, oh, great. It's like, did I really do that to, in the past? I mean, lots worse than that, but just even, really unusual things that happen. But it does really come down to that. And however, what we do experience, what we do create when we're doing it, and we realise, oh, that's a mistake, I should never have done that, we can purify. So that means that it will reduce or nullify the karmic result. So that's the good news. And the next characteristic is that it increases. So karma increases. So when we have a mental urge and we do something, we enact on that, the ripening of that action, whether it's even just a thought or something we said or did, increases over time. So what it can end up being, and this is like in lifetimes ahead perhaps, is a whole major thing compared to what it was. So they say, like, even be mindful of small, insignificant things that we might do and think, oh, it doesn't really matter if we just, like, basically it comes down to what, like, morality and so on, and a lot of it's to do with the moral stance and thinking, oh, just a little white lie or a little bit of just taking these flowers out of their garden, plucking them out of the front yard, whatever, just little things that some people just think are fine anyway, but actually that can have far-reaching results that you wouldn't want to know about. So, it gives you that double take. It has that kind of rippling effect because it can reverberate. One thing that you do can cause something else that then opens up this whole Pandora's box. It's like when you throw a stone into a lake and you just get the whole effect of the ripples. It's a bit like that. And they say, like, the typical example they give too is one tiny seed that you plant will grow into a massive can grow into a massive tree, depends what seed it is, but yeah, it has potential to grow into a huge tree that might have heaps of flowers on it as well. And so yeah, it's that kind of effect. So yeah, also though, which is interesting, other side to this is that thinking of the first characteristic about the actions we create. So given that karma increases, so if we do have a major disaster happen to us, it could have increased from what we did in the beginning, so like to get that to happen, if you follow. So what we did in the beginning might not have been nearly as major as what we end up experiencing, which could be good or bad. And also the other way around is, whatever we can do, whatever we have done can be watered down, so through purification and so on. So yeah, so it's so complex anyway. They say that only a fully enlightened mind can understand the complexities of karma. There was one example of where someone through purification was able to have a far less disaster. Like if someone used to live here, she was in India doing months in prostration purification retreat, and then not long after she was in a car accident and seriously injured, but yeah, she was okay. Can't remember what happened, but it wasn't anything too bad. Anyway, she was speaking with one of her spiritual teachers later, and he said, because they can see, like with clairvoyance too, so he told her that had she not done that purification stint, she would have died in that accident. So that's how much it can change the dynamic through purifying. So the third characteristic is we only experience something that we created the cause for. So, you have a lot of those incidents where a group of people are in a major accident and like 5 out of 6 die and the other one's fine. So that's just a typical example of how even though the conditions were there for someone to die, say, they don't, because they haven't created the cause for it. So they escape unharmed. That's just one way of looking at that point. And the fourth point is that whatever karma we do create will always ripen. Unless we purify it, it never just disappears by itself. So, yeah, that's the fourth point. What way it does ripen is often in future lives, so it's often not obvious. Mostly karma ripens in future lives. When it doesn't, it's so like mostly what's happening to us now is what we've created in previous lives. But there are really potent objects that we create karma with where it will ripen in this life, and that's like with a spiritual teacher, where they're really potent object in connection for us, because they're like supporting our whole well-being in a really profound way. And so they're a really powerful object to create karma with, good or bad. And also our parents. We have this deep connection with our parents. So, yeah, it's like looking after our parents is said to be, when they're old and that, really powerful for our mind. And also, say, not getting along with them and disrespecting them and getting angry with them and so on it has a big impact on our mind. They've brought us into the world, supported us, all that, so we have this really, and we have a strong karmic connection with them because we were born to them anyway. But they're two of the main potent objects where we would experience or could experience ripening karma in this life. There's an example that they often give about that, where there was one guy walking down the road, and his main spiritual teacher was walking down the other side of the road, but this guy was walking with someone that, I don't remember the story exactly, but he felt like he was impressing this guy or whatever, and he didn't want to look as though he owed anything to this Lama. I don't remember the exact reason why he didn't, but he didn't acknowledge his teacher. Anyway, later, and so he just walked by, and then later his teacher said to him, you didn't say hello when you walked past today. And this guy said, I didn't see you. And immediately, according to the story, his eye fell out. So that was a really heavy immediate ripening. And so whether we believe the details of that or not, the point is it's really powerful. And that you wouldn't want to risk it anyway. So, so the karmic results, this is another aspect of karma. So there's the ripening result, which is like where you're reborn, basically. The second one is the results which are congruent or similar to the cause. And this is a really hairy one, because it's similar. What happens is when you're reborn as a human again, say you had tendencies for depression in the previous life, and you ended your life by suicide. So then when you were reborn as a human, what is the karma that's similar to the cause there, that you'd be likely to experience depression again because you hadn't addressed it in a previous life. It would still be sitting like that. That imprint would be on your mind stream still. So you'd be prone to depression again. This is just a general example. And then also, in terms of the experience, similar to the cause, and in terms of the action, similar to the cause, you would also have the predisposition to give up and suicide again. So this is a really tricky aspect of karma, where to break out of that cycle can be difficult. But basically what it means is that it's we really need to get our heads around those difficult issues we have, of whatever they are. That's the indication. We really need to address what's going on. And then the third karmic result is the environmental conditions that we're born into. So, say with killing karma from previous life, so when we get reborn as a human, we would tend to be sick a lot, have a short life. We'd that would be like the result similar to the cause, and we'd also have the propensity to kill again, and also the environmental conditions would be such that, like, medicine wouldn't be that powerful for us. The supports to our life, like food and so on, wouldn't be great. So, yeah, killing karma is the worst of all the moral all the morality aspects of morality, because that's our greatest, the ultimate possession we have. Yeah, and we'd also have. Oh yeah, I said that. Like with killing, that predisposition to kill. I mean, even hunting. It wouldn't necessarily be humans that would be thinking to kill, but hunting or fishing, any of that sort of thing, having the mindset like wanting to do that. So looking at what's causing us to what's driving our negative actions, like, why do we feel irritated by others or ourselves? Why do we have these destructive mind states arise, and jealousy, anger and all that? I mean, there's lots of conditions. Like, has anyone got any? Yeah.
What if you're I heard a thing once about this, angry at somebody out of love.
Out of love?
Out of love, yeah. Is that feel calm?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it all depends on our intention. That's part of the karmic cause. And so if we have the urge to, like, are you thinking like disciplining? So the question was when we're angry out of love. Sorry? Oh.
And then he just walks out of the bedroom.
Oh.
And I was so angry at him. And then 2 days later, I had the worst accident.
Right. So in, like, there's this, you can be what we call wrathful, is the sort of anger without means not anger. It's not like coming from a disturbed mind. That's the difference. So, I mean, we can be disturbed through fear of their well-being, as in, you know, like obviously to protect someone from a kid or whatever running onto the road and all that. We're still kind of anxious, like that they're not going to get run over, but we're not angry at them. But we could be really kind of come across as really what we call wrathful, because it means without anger. So just really forcefully disciplining. But did you mean like you were so concerned that
Well, no, I was angry as well that, I guess maybe about, leaving the light on in the bathroom, the fan on, all that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, but I was also angry that, that I was preparing for worse.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So you got a shock, and yeah, I think we get agitated over all sorts of things. What's at the bottom of it all is this view of ourselves as being existing in a way that we don't. So, I was going to explain, this might explain more. There's a what's called self-grasping. It has a few different terms, like you might have heard of grasping at inherent existence or true existence, or true grasping, or seeing things existing from their own side. All of this is a big part of understanding what's driving us. It's a really deeply innate wrong view that we have, so of the way things exist. And when I say self-grasping, it's not like self in the sense of myself or yourself. It's like, although it relates to ourself, but the self part of that is to do with it being inherent. So grasping at inherent existence, or holding the view of inherent existence, as in the grasping. So it's what gives rise to all of our afflicted mind states. And I'll just explain what I mean. Like, so when we think of ourselves, me, we think of ourselves, right? And immediately we appear to ourselves, to our mind. Our self-image appears, when we think of ourselves. So what's happening there is we are thinking of ourselves, and that's why we have this image of ourselves arise. But at the same time, that image of ourselves appears to have been there already, and appears to have been there all along. So from our own side, it's like we're already here. And when we think of ourselves, it's just, we're just noticing ourselves. But that's not the case. So when we think of ourselves, and it's like we just notice that we're here, that's an illusion. Because we only appear in that way when we think of ourselves. It takes a bit to sink in, but this is really what this solid sense of ourself existing from our own side as a independent entity is actually at the root of all of the whole afflicted mind states that get out of control. So it's like I'll explain like how they put, you know, the obscurations that I was talking about last week, where our mind is pure and blissful naturally. However, all of that experience is obscured by these afflicted mind states. Well, in Buddhism, there's a kind of way of looking at where we stand with that. So generally there's obscurations and there's innate obscurations and there's intellectually acquired obscurations, the way they call it. And what that means is that we have this innate self-grasping that's just always been there since beginningless time, and we on top of that, socially, philosophically, religiously, all different aspects of our life compound that innate grasping, the way that society, conventional approach to life, everything compounds that self-grasping attitude. So we have these afflicted mind states and their seeds, and so how they say it's like we have anger, say, sitting within us all the time, like if you just like the vibration of that sort of angry energy is within our mind stream, and when the conditions are right, it will get activated. But we can get to a point where we can, there's different stages of mind training where we get to a point where we can cut through those, first of all, the intellectually acquired ones. We can see through that and get beyond that through a deep realisation of the way things do actually exist, which is called emptiness, which is what opposes self-grasping. And then after a lot of meditating and practicing, we can address the inborn ones, the innate afflicted minds and their seeds. And then that's liberation. So that's where we're totally in control. We don't have any, we don't have any of these destructive emotions manifesting. And so, why I bring up self-grasping is it's really at the root of it all. And we can meditate on that. So when we feel a strong sense of ourself giving rise to anger, giving rise to jealousy or arrogance or whatever, we can there's different meditations we can do. We can simply look at the that appearance of ourself and recognise that that is the cause of all our suffering. And equally with anger, if the anger or whatever it is if we're getting angry, we can just give ourselves a moment to hone in on that, like in that meditation before, hone in on that issue. We were looking at that issue that might be sitting there. So if anger appears or any disturbing mind state, if we look for it within us, on a subtle level, our mind recognises that it's just a feeling that's come out of the mind. It's just a mental reaction to conditions, and it dissipates that way really well. It takes us away from the story that caused the anger or whatever it is as well. So there's lots of different ways we can minimise the afflicted mind states, but ultimately it's through the realisation of emptiness, which cuts through the self-grasping. There's quite a lot of different methods for purifying too. There's stacks of them in Buddhism, like mantras. One that's really powerful too is even just confession, like if you have an argument with someone or you feel bad about something you said, it makes all the difference to actually just talk it over with them. That's really simple, but there's a lot of traditional methods that in Buddhism that are really powerful. I was going to do one now. We've just got a little bit of time left for a quick meditation. It's with a Buddha image. So basically it's having that awareness that this is an enlightened, fully awakened source of energy. And if we imagine like the Buddha form, if you're comfortable with that, above the crown of our head, this Buddha is white, and I'll just do a very simple form of what's called the Vajrasattva purification. So this Buddha here is a little bit different. So Vajrasattva is like, has his hands like this. He's holding a Vajra bell, which is symbol of wisdom and compassion. Anyway, he's sitting on a lotus above the crown of our head, not on our head, but just above. And from his heart streams down nectar and white light, which comes through into our crown. And flushes all the obscurations of our body, all the physical obscurations, down through and out the bottom of us, the lower orifices. So what comes out is all this black gunk, and even you can imagine spiders, scorpions, cockroaches, anything really ugly just comes out the bottom and just disappears into the earth under us. So the physical aspects of morality that we're purifying with this visualization is killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct, where we're harming others through by any of those means. So the brilliant white light that's streaming down from this manifestation of complete purity, this enlightened aspect of Vajrasattva, fills our body from the top and just like flushes down everything, all the obscurations accumulated through these actions of killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. And they get all flushed out the bottom, completely leaving our whole body just filled with white light and completely pure. Then the next visualization is the stream of nectar flows down. It goes right down to the bottom of us and then fills us up from the bottom up, like filling a glass of water. And then when it gets up to the top, it goes, all of the obscurations go out through our nose and mouth, and yeah, all in the form of black gunk, black liquid. And this is purifying our speech, the lying, not telling the truth, slandering others, abusing others with harsh words, and also the senseless chatter, the gossip, the meaningless talk. All these aspects of our immoral speech get flushed out. So we are completely purified of all those, whatever we've ever done. And then again the nectar streams down into our heart chakra. And this time it purifies the mind states of attachment to our beautiful things, craving more beautiful things, envying other people's beautiful things. And it purifies anger, aversion, resentment, jealousy. And it purifies all our wrong views, not seeing the nature of reality, having dualistic mind. So when it hits our heart, it just completely evaporates all the obscurations at our heart. So that it's like when you turn a light on in a dark room, just instantly, it's just brilliant light in our heart, filling our heart. So with this practice, what goes with it is having regret for having ever done any of this, any of these negative, destructive mind states or actions. And considering those that to whom we acted like this. And resolving to avoid any of this in the future. So with that we can feel completely purified of all and any of those. So we can end the meditation there. And with any of the purification practices, it involves those four, what they call opponent powers. So having regret is a huge part of purifying. Like it's basically you're half there. If you have sincere regret about it, then it's the really powerful part of purifying. And there's all different sorts of actual ways you can purify, like we just did that one. There's a lot of other different ones, but the rest of the four components need to be there, like to resolve not to do it again. That's really powerful too, to change the tendency that we might have to repeat it. But the regret is really what shifts our mind with that. And we're completely purified if we include the four components. So we'll leave it there, and next week I'm going to be looking at the process of dying and how where our mind goes after death. So it's a really big subject that a lot of us could be quite fearful about, but it's a really amazing teachings in Buddhism on that. So yeah, thanks so much for coming out on this rainy night. And yeah, if anyone wants to have a cuppa with us in the dining room, please stay over. Thanks, bye.